Introduction. The term divining or divination comes from divine, and the art of divination is based upon the recognition of a universal divine principle acting within the soul. Man is said to be the crown of creation. In him are combined the quintessences of all the four kingdoms. He is at once a mineral, a plant, an animal, and a god. And each of these constituent parts has its own peculiar states of consciousness, its own sensations, desires, feelings, and perceptions. The divine light which shines within the darkness of his material constitution is the eternal Spirit of God, in which there exists neither past nor the future time, but in whose consciousness all things are forever present. Its presence is felt within the soul as the divine power of intuition, and if the mind of man were to rise entirely above the realm of selfishness, to become illuminated by the light of the Spirit, there would be no need for geomancy or for any other artificial aids to bring the knowledge of the Spirit to the understanding of the material intellect. We could then not only intuitively feel the truth, but see it and know it without any argumentation or mathematical reasoning. There are, however, only a few saints or adepts in the world who are in possession of such a state of perfection, and the majority of men and women upon this globe have to go roundabout way of speculation and calculation to obtain information in regard to things unknown. The psychological process by which the knowledge of the spiritual soul comes to the understanding of the human intellect appears to be very complicated. It seems that the divine ray of light has to pass through many strata of matter and is broken many times before it is ultimately reflected within the field of external consciousness. And the more we are able to spiritually rise above these clouds of matter that darken the mental sky, the more will we become able to see the sunlight of truth in its purity. By practicing the art of geomancy in that state of mind and feeling which brings man nearer to the perception of the truth, the intuition may teach the reasoning intellect. The first four symbols of which the geomantic figure is constructed are the products of intuition, and from them the final result is obtained by intellectual labor. The condition for obtaining success is the full and entire concentration of thought and will upon the question which is to be answered. In the art of geomancy, it is not the mind, but the soul, which answers the question, and the answer is received by means of the power of the living divine Spirit of God, whose temple is man. It is, therefore, clear that this magical art ought not to be practiced in any other frame of mind than that of worship, adoration, and faith in the eternal law of order and harmony. If undertaken merely for the purposes of gratifying idle curiosity, or for selfish purposes, or from motives of greed or revenge, its results will be unreliable, because in such cases the intuitional ray becomes distorted by the perverted images existing within the mind. Likewise, the answers will only be reliable if the whole strength of will and thought is concentrated upon the question asked. A vacillating mind has but little power, for the truth suffers no other loves. Only those who rise up to it and embrace it with all their soul, with all their mind, and with their whole being will receive true knowledge. Finally, it may be well to state that the foreseeing or future events will not enable us to change their course. For if these events did not already exist in the future, they could not be foreseen, while if they were to be altered, the alteration would also be seen. Nevertheless, the art of geomancy may be very useful to act as our guide in meeting future events, in enabling us to take courage in what we know to become a success, and to give up insisting in fruitless attempts to attain that which would end up in failure if carried out. It should, however, always be kept in mind that the reliability of all such arts depends on our own reliability of perception, and the decisions of geomancy can be infallible only when all the conditions required to make them infallible have been complied with. Geomancy is not a substitute, but an aid for divine reason.